Hello everybody, and welcome to the Horror Master YouTube channel. Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time since I've actually done a solo video, and I think it's about time that I started doing some videos on my YouTube channel since you all have seen me with the Horseman podcast with Levi, Hannah, Raphael, and Archer doing the top 10 metal stuff. But in this channel, I am still gonna bring you guys some metal stuff and some horror because you can tell by the my username, I love horror. Maybe some top tens, my favorite movies, album reviews, whole bunch of stuff, different variety of stuff, not just metal and horror, but maybe some Marvel stuff, some comics. Cause I'm a comic book guy, just a different kind of content I'm gonna bring you guys to this channel. But by the title of this video, depending how I word it, I'm actually gonna go through my entire CD collection, and I'm probably gonna separate this probably into maybe 5 parts depending on how everything goes since I have pretty stacked up shelves. So we're gonna go through all of them, talk a bit about them, some facts about them, and some were gifts and all that. So all of these albums that I've had here, I've bought from everywhere, from eBay, Amazon, Discogs, the record label, Second and Charles. You guys name it. I go through every single website, see the best deals and albums that I want to have in my possession. Some of them were gifts from either birthday or Christmas, or just gifts out of randomly from some of my good friends. But enough jibber jabbering. Let's get into the city shelves. So we're gonna start out with the Ace. I have everything by alphabetical. It makes it a lot easier for me to organize my CDs and find the band that I'm looking for. Because every single person has their method of organizing their physical media. Some people have it by color, some people have it by the genre. Mostly mine is a lot of metal and rock, and maybe one or two that are not really into that genre because it's my CD. It's my CDs. It's what I want. But anyway, let's get into CDs. So first off, we have a from Norway, a Death Doom band from Norway, Abyssic with Hide the Memory, a great symphonic Death Doom band. If you wanna, that's the best way I can listen to it. Also, the evil eye that watches you, make great modern day Death Doom. Just give them guys a listen. Next up is ACDC. If you all know, ACDC is my favorite band of all time, to the core, but they're the ones that got me into this whole rock and metal journey. So yeah, it's a point I had to them. So I have here Let There Be Rock, probably one of the best albums they've had in years. Highway to Hell, probably the favorite of the Bon Scott era, everyone's favorite, next to probably something like Power Rage or even Dirty Deeds. Next up, Back in Black, my favorite album of all time, which holds my favorite song of all time, Hell's Bells. Everything about this album, I worship it like there is no fucking tomorrow. Everything about it is pure perfection. Jailbreak 74, this is an EP they got during the, between, I want to say, the, not Flick of the Switch, around the Flick of the Switch era, which some recordings from some songs that didn't make it in the albums like Dirty Deeds or High Voltage, like Jailbreak, which was originally in the Australian version of Dirty Deeds. It didn't make it in the American version. Also, some covers like Play With These Don't Go, Soul Stripper, Show Business. It's a good little album that a lot of people don't know, and y'all should give it a listen. Next up, Razor's Edge, of course, their infamous album from 1990, Thunderstruck, Are You Ready, which is now the SmackDown theme song, Money Talks, Mistress for Christmas, Shout of Love, you name it, they all got good songs. And next up we have the Acdc live version, which this was from, I think, when they went to Moscow in 1991 with the tour with Metallica and Pantera. This is the live version of it, which again has a lot of Thunderstruck, The Jack, Money Talks, House Bells, Brothers About to Rock. Nah, great, great. Stiff Upper Lip. Again, it's a great album. Came out in the 2000, 2001. I mean, it's not the best, but it's not the worst AC/DC album. Then again, AC/DC don't have bad albums. They're all albums for a good timing with friends. Next up, Black Ice. Again, another one of those albums that I get. AC don't have a bad albums from Rock and Roll Train, War Machine, Stormy Mayday, just to name a couple of songs. And last one is from AC/DC, their latest one, Power Up, which this was my album of the year for 2020. I lost it when they announced that they were going to release a new album. I never thought they were going to release a new album, and I hope that they tour, because I would like to see them live, because I've never seen AC/DC live. I hope I can see them probably one day, if it ever happens. But everything about it is just so good, and Brian's vocals have never been better. I mean, you can definitely tell from a song like Shot in the Dark or Demon Spire, his vocal performance is so good. But yeah, it's AC/DC. I will always love AC/DC no matter what. Next up, Agalok, Memento, probably one of my most treasured albums, because it's kind of a hard album to find, especially knowing the legacy an album like this has had in not just black metal, but every single genre of metal has been influenced, even in folk metal. You know, it's a great album, especially in this time of the year when there's a lot of winter, snow. Just put on the CD and it'll just fit. It'll make you feel like you're actually there, especially in the album cover. Just look at that album cover. It's just great. Next up is the one of my actually favorite albums in the past couple of years. Aaliyah's self-titled Aaliyah, which comes with two CDs. The first one is the acoustic version of the album, and the second CD is the more electric, more guitar-based album. Which, you know, this was an album that almost didn't come out to the light because, of course, Aaliyah Starbridge passed away around 2016, and some of those recordings never came out to light. But Juha, his light partner from Swallow Sun, decided to release these songs to light because everyone needed to listen to what Aaliyah had to say. And my God, it's beautiful. I mean, beautiful. It'll make you cry. Amenra with Der Sturm. Amenra has been one of those bands that I've been getting more into, especially with the Mass, Mass 1 through 6. Personally, my favorite being Mass 6. That's how I got into the band. But Der Turm is a really good out there. The first one in a major label in Relapse Records, that they got signed to Relapse and moved away from the Mass anthology and created something different. I mean, to the point that one of the songs, I mean, I'm sorry if I mispronounce this. I really don't know much Belgian, but Truth is the main theme from Malachi Black's theme in AEW. So that's to show how much kind of post metal, black metal influenced a wrestler, and then that wrestler brings a new audience to the band because one of them used their songs, which is one of the things that I love about metal, that you might get weird stuff and just get somebody into metal. Next up, Anasama Channellates. If y'all know my history with Anasama, you know that the first 5 albums to me are just the pick of Anasama. The rest I could care less. But the first one, Serenades, gets to show what Anasama was gonna bring to the table. I mean, one of the Peacefield 3. I mean, it's a great album to listen to, especially if you love Death Doom like me. Probably one of the top 50, top 20 Death Doom albums of all time. But great album. But then they actually kick it up a notch, which, in my opinion, their best album of all time. The Silent Enigma. Top 5, top 10 Death Doom albums of all time, next to something like My Dying Brides, Turn Loose Among the Swans, and Paralyzed as Gothic, which we'll eventually get to in another video or two. But to me, this is the epitome of Anasama. This is what Anasama stands for, is the syllable plural from Anasama, the album that made them who they are. And to me, this is Anasama, not the Anasama we have right now, which they're on hiatus. And I'll say it once and I'll say it again. Anasama, if you ever come back, release a Death Doom album. I don't even care if it's gothic metal, just not the post rock wannabe Radiohead. You guys know what I mean. Next up, this is actually was one of my first purchases from Bandcamp, which I forgot to mention. I also do a lot of purchases on Bandcamp, and this is one of the first ones that caught my eyes. This is all the way from Lisbon, Portugal. This is Ashes of Lives, Seasons Within, which is their debut album from, I guess, Lisbon, Portugal. Lisbon, Portugal has a lot of gothic slash death doom bands, which, being the death doom guy of the Horsemen, you kind of knew I was gonna get into him right away. But at first glance, it kind of reminded me a bit of a Swallow Song, because the album cover, once you get into it, is progressive, has a lot of prog, a lot of black metal at times, death, doom. I mean, it has everything, but my favorite song has to be the instrumental. It just goes to a different world at times. But if you've not heard of Ashes of Life, I recommend you to check them out. They will not disappoint. Trust me. Next up, Aspects, Last One on Earth. What more can I say about this album that hasn't been said before? I mean, the album cover, a fucking zombie priest. How much metal can you get than that? But besides that, Martin Van Buren, probably one of the best death metal vocalists of all time. It just kicks the punch you right in the nuts. But if you have not heard of Aspects, this is the album you guys need to listen to. Go. Now after this, go listen to them. And which also brings me to the latest album from last year, Necrosaurus, which again, great death doom. Aspects one of those bands that have released some good death doom albums in the past couple of years. But to me, it's those melodic yet calm moments, like in the song 3 Years of Famine, which they get heavy, but then they bring a lot of melodic to the song, which I really enjoy. The melodies in Death Doom. That's probably the thing that I look for more in Death Doom. But the heaviness is still there, the aggressiveness is still there. Martin Van Buren's vocals are fucking phenomenal, which is scary that he's almost in his, I think he's in his 50s around there, which is scary good, but highly recommended. Next up, this was this album was actually a birthday gift that I got a couple years ago from my friend Hannah. This is a funeral doom album by the name of Still Again for the album from the band Atramentis. If it looks familiar, yes, it's just the same person who did the album cover for Bell Witch Mirror Reaper, did the same album cover for these guys. And if you have a lot of time to spare, listen to this album, because it is a full-on funeral doom mastery. You have no idea how good this album is, especially that album cover. I mean, just look at it. I don't know if it does it. There you go. Look at it. It just pops. But give this guys a listen. Next up, this was a Christmas gift from my friend Archer that I got. Of course, this past Christmas. This is the Iron Maiden of Portugal, Attic Demons. Now, at first glance, when Archer introduced me to this band, I was like, there's no way there's a clone Iron Maiden, even though there's a lot, but some of them don't even come close. But these guys, you can honestly mistake them for Iron Maiden, and this is probably their best album. So if you like Iron Maiden Portuguese metal, take these guys out. I mean, look at them. They can't even look like Iron Maiden from afar. Next up, Autopsy, Mental Funeral. Again with the Death Doom. Again, you're gonna see a lot of Death Doom albums in my discography, which that's my main but Mental Funeral is probably one of the best Death Doom albums out there, from the album cover to the songs like Twisted Manson with Bring Diggity, Mental Funeral, Hole in the Head, Dead, Robbing the Grave. I mean, that album cover, it's disgusting, yet it does its job from showing you what Autopsy is. Next up, Bathory. Probably one of my favorite black metal bands of all time. So I have some, probably all of them, maybe, well, not all of them, because there's some albums I don't like in the discography. But I have the debut. You gotta have the debut with a fucking goat's head. Funny, I wonder where he got that idea from. Venom. But it's the debut. I mean, Hades, Reaper, Necromancy, Conspiracy with Satan. I can talk about it more, but moving on. Next up, of course, The Return. Probably one of the most influential black metal albums, stated by people from Fenris to Euronymous to even Varg, that this album was the album that inspired them to actually, you know, kind of go into this black metal realm of theirs in Norway, which is to show how much Bathory has influenced not just Norwegian black metal bands, but every single black metal band, even if it's just a bit, you have no idea. Their third album, my favorite album, Bathory album of all time, Under the Sign of the Black Mark, which to me, it is their epitome of what Bathory is. I mean, when you have songs like Call from the Grave, Massacre, 13 Candles, Chariots of Fire, Woman of Dark Desires, and above all, Enter the Eternal Fire. Black metal mastery. And then, of course, we get into the more Viking era, which a lot of people, like myself, love the Viking era of Bathory. Like, of course, Blood, Fire, Death. When you have a song called Blood, Fire, Death, and it's about gods versus humans, or a war between gods, and the humans are the catalyst of what's happening with the gods. That's just brutal. And then, of course, we have Hammerheart, which kind of, I guess you can say, went more into their Viking roots. But still, it's a phenomenal album. And yeah, it's a great album. And next up, we have Twilight of the Gods. Again, more Viking and all that, but again, it's fucking Bathory. The Viking era Bathory is probably one of the most beloved eras of any band, which says a lot. And then I have Blood on Ice. Yes, I don't have Working October because I've mentioned this before. I cannot for the life of me stand those albums. I try to listen to them. I try with all my heart, but something in my brain just doesn't click, which I don't know what it is, but I tried. But Blood on Ice, which originally was supposed to be an album, was supposed to come on between Blood, Fire, Death, and Hammerheart, like kind of like a middle album, but the material never finished until probably in the late 90s when Corson went back to his old material and decided to actually finish the album, and which talk about Dungeons and Dragons in this album. I dare you to listen to this album while listening to Dungeons and Dragons. You'll fucking love it. And last but not least, for the Bathory discography, both Norland 1 and 2. Probably one of the best dualities in metal. It's a shame that we never got a third or fourth part, of which, according to rumors, we're supposed to have more than like multiple parts, but that's not confirming or denying it. But you know what? For this being the last material Bathory gave us, what a way to go. Which, that's a good way to go. Next up, almost fell. The Beatles. Yes, I like the Beatles too. Don't judge me. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Again, It's a great album. It's a good tune, especially if you like to, go with some little Mary Jane at times, which I personally don't. But if you do, great album. Next up, Behemoth the Satanist. If you have not checked out the episode on the Horseman podcast where we discuss this album in depth, I seriously recommend you to watch it because talk about one of the, if not the best album of the 2010s, the impact it had on the metal genre, especially having, you know, Nergal fight cancer, which fuck cancer, and come back stronger than ever, more angry than ever, and create their magnum opus this late in their career. And besides, I'm actually gonna go see, hopefully, Behemoth live in April with our channel, which I'm really, really, really excited. Bell Witch, Mirror Reaper. I mean, look at that album cover. Just the sadness of another funeral doom mastery, which has gotten a lot of appraisal from a lot of fans over the years and has become probably a fan favorite at most. But just look at that album cover. I mean, just look at it. Look how brutal that is and how beautiful that is at the same time. Next up, Billie Eilish. Yeah, I like some Billie Eilish from time to time. This is my CD collection, so I can have whatever the hell I want. But you know what? I like some Billie Eilish from time to time, even though I have not yet listened to the new album. I think this one's pretty good. Her debut is pretty good, kind of creepy. Songs like "Very Afraid of Me," which was constantly played a lot in the radio, which kind of got me addicted to it. Which, again, there's some songs I can give and take. Next up, this was a Christmas gift from my friend Raphael 2 years ago. The Black Dahlia Murder with Abysmal. This was my first introduction to, actually not really my first, but my most known Black Dahlia Murder listen, and it has a lot of good songs, melodic, death metal. For them to have a song about Dracula, of all things, Dracula, it was an instant listen for me. Now we're gonna get into some Black Sabbath. So of course we have Paranoid, of course, the monstrous second follow-up to the debut. War Pigs, Paranoid, Hand of Doom, Iron Man. What more can I say? Master of Reality. I mean, come on, Sweet Leaf, Children of the Grave, Lord of the World, Solitude, Angel of the Void. One of the best doom metal albums of all time. Sabotage, they're probably their most underrated album in the Ozzy era. Hole in the Sky, Thrill Me. A lot of progginess also on this album, which is, again, prog and Black Sabbath don't make sense, even though Black Sabbath created heavy metal. So it's fitting for them to create prog metal in a way. Heaven and Hell. Oh my god, it's Heaven and Hell with Rodney James fucking Dio, the album that broke Dio into more stardom, and of course replaced Ozzy when he left when he was when he was kicked out of Black Sabbath, and Dio took in his vocals, and my god, was it a phenomenal album at the time. Songs like Neon Nine, Children of the Sea, Die Young, the title track. My god, it's fucking amazing. Borknagard with True North. This was my first introduction to Borknagard, and I honestly I can't tell you how much I love this album. From Lights to On the North to Thunderous to even the ballad Wildfather's Heart. It kind of warms my heart a lot because it thinks of our things of my dad and all that, which again, great album to listen to. And the last two for this video, it's actually from Boston. Of course, I have the infamous Boston debut from Boston with the the UFOs. I'm of course More Than a Feeling. You've heard that song a whole bunch of times. Peace of Mind, Something About You, Hitch a Ride, For Long Play. Classic rock mastery. You cannot go to any classic rock station and not listen to Boston. And last but not least, the third stage, which is probably one of my second or third favorite Boston album. Of course, the massive Ballad of Amanda. We're Ready. I Think I Can Like It. Holly Ann. Just again, phenomenal work from Boston. And that does it for this video. I know it's kind of, I ramble a bit for a couple of, but you know what? It's a give and take. So, stay tuned for part two, which I might record after this. I don't know, depending on how I'm going to do it. But you know what? I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more awesome videos. So, you know what?